This is a typical conjecture question. It says for what values of x is there a stationary point? And in this case, there may be more than one stationary point, and usually you find it by finding the gradient function and finding where the maxima or minima is. But it's not a bad idea to graph it first. For y is equal to x plus 1 over e to the x, we get a graph which looks like this. And it shows you that there is a stationary point up there where the maxima is. We can do the differentiation and find the gradient. And this could be just rewritten by taking the ex out from there and there. We can now cancel the ex here and cancel an ex there. And this is your gradient function. But we want the gradient to be equal to 0 if we are to find the stationary point. So x is the coordinate of the stationary point. And we can fill in the table and say that x coordinate is 0. Similarly, if you have a look at the graph of x plus 2 over ex, which is in red here, you'll see that it also has a stationary point, and this stationary point is moved slightly to the left. Let's have a look and differentiate that function again. And this will result minus 1 minus x over e to the x. And if we make it to 0, because that's where stationary point will be, we'll get that minus 1 minus x is equal to 0, and therefore x is equal to minus 1. And so in the table we can fill in minus 1. And it becomes pretty clear that the next x coordinate will be minus 2, and the next one after that will be minus 3. And you can check it by graph or do the gradient function. If you do it on the graphics calculator, all you have to do is g-solve for the maximum. Although I must stress that in an exam you are likely to be asked to show the algebraic reasoning, and that means you will have to do the differentiation. And now we come to that question where you have to make a conjecture about the x-coordinate of the stationary point. But you will do it for y is equal to x plus a over ex, but the a is a real number. So instead of 1, 2, 3, you're using a real number. So it could be any number whatsoever. So in this case, I know that a stands for the 1 in here and the 2 in there. So I'm going to zoom in on those two and highlight these because that's important to me, okay? And that's what's going to be 0. So I'm going to pretend 1 minus x, but at this time I'll put a in here, and that is meant to be 0. So if this is the case, I can write this down as 1 minus x minus a is equal to 0. And that means that 1 minus a is equal to x. Now this is my conjecture, that x is equal to 1 minus a, my conjecture. But if I'm having trouble with this conjecture, then what I can do is cheat. And by cheating, I mean go to the next question, which they ask for you to prove or disprove this conjecture. And to do this, I will now take this function where I have x plus a over e to the x, and I will now differentiate this particular function. So I'll say that u is equal to x plus a, and u dash is 1, v is equal to ex and v dash is equal to also ex. And hence I will put this as uv minus, and that will be ex minus x plus a times ex over ex to the power of 2. And as before, that becomes ex, which is 1 minus x plus a over ex to the power of 2. And we end up with just having 1 minus x plus a over ex, and we must make this equal to 0 if we want to make it stationary, and therefore we do have 1 minus x plus a is equal to 0, so 1 minus x minus a is equal to 0, and like before, x is equal to 1 minus a. So we have proved our conjecture. And so if you didn't come up with the conjecture, you can now go back to that question and put that your conjecture was that x is equal to 1 minus a. So I hope this was helpful and explained how to do a conjecture question. And if you found it helpful, please like it and subscribe.